video, I'm going to share with you how to make these super cute little headbands for your kids' stuffed animals, or your own, if you have your own stuffed animals. They're just so cute. My kids actually have matching ones that they wear as well. I started out by making my daughter's one just like this purple and pink one, and then they wanted me to make matching ones for their stuffed animals, which I thought was such a super cute idea. And then of course we made a few others in different colors and different yarn, and they're just the cutest. And so here we have this little puppy, and she doesn't have a headband, so we need to make her a headband so that she feels just as cute. Now, up until now, I've done all of these in more of a chunkier plush yarn, and they've worked out really great. But today I'm going to try something different, so we can do this together. And I'm going to use this yarn, which is, here it is, which is still a super bulky yarn, a number 6, but not as thick and bulky as the other type of yarn. So let's give it a try. Let's see if it's just as cute. I have a feeling it will be. Okay, so what I love about this project is how quick and easy it is and how super cute. So I'm going to use these needles today, which are the 5.75 millimeter. And we're just gonna start simply with our cast on. As you know, we're gonna make our little fish. We're gonna go into the body of the fish and pull through to create our slip knot. Once we have our slip knot, we'll simply place it onto our, actually that should be long enough. Let's see. I think this tail is going to be long enough to cast on, but let's see. Okay, so the really cool thing about this project and why it makes it so fun and easy is that the width of, how many stitches you put onto your needle really just depend on how wide you want the headband to be. So since this little gal, she's pretty tiny and has a little head, it's probably only going to be maybe like 4 stitches to cast on, 4 stitches wide. So let's see if that is enough. It's a little short, this tail, but I think it's going to be long enough. Let me just make sure I hold on to it there. All right, so there we go. That's 4 stitches. So this is how wide the headband is going to be, which I think is perfect. And so we still have our little tail here. All right, so what I've done up until this point has just been to do, slid right off, is to do the knit stitch. But I think today, let's try something, since we're using new yarn, let's try something different. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with the purl stitch today. So of course, pick what you wanna do, but nonetheless, it's just gonna be 4 stitches wide, and you're just gonna repeat. Of course, you can put other designs and other patterns in if you so choose, but I'm just going to keep it simple here today. And we're going to start with our purl stitch, which I'll slow down here next. So with our purl stitch, let's get that tail out of the way. With our purl stitch, we have our yarn in the front, remember. We're going to go into the front window. We're going to go around the house, out the back window, and pop it off the top. Same thing, working yarn is in the front. We're gonna go in that front window, around the house, back window, pop it off the top. One more, front window, around the house, back window, pop it off the top. All right, that was easy. We already got 1 row done. How fun and easy. I love it. So this is just a super quick, fun project. So again, I'm gonna do purl stitches. You can do whichever you so choose, but it makes it for nice and easy. Just do another row of purl stitches. And here's how long you do it for, is as long as you have your stuffy nearby, you're just going to keep, as it's growing, you're just going to keep measuring your project against your Stuffies head. Or if you have a doll or, you know, something else that your child brings to you that they say needs a headband. So again, we're doing another row here. And instead of you having to watch me do all of this, I'm going to just speed up this video so that you don't have to watch all of it. Okay, so again, I'm doing purl stitch. Choose what your stitch is. And as it grows, you can keep measuring it against your fella or gal. And I'll meet you back here in a few minutes. All right, so I'm back and I've knitted enough to wrap around her cute little head. So I know that it's going to fit. And what I like to do is I do like to stretch it out a little bit so that, because what I have found with headbands is that they will stretch out. Obviously this is on a stuffed animal, so it's not going to be necessarily taken on, taken off, taken on, taken off. But nonetheless, I do like to stretch them out just so that they get stretched out too big and then they fall off their heads. Okay, so here's mine, just the purl stitch all the way through. And so now I'm going to cast off. And you just cast off as normal. So I'm actually just going to do a regular knit stitch, 2 of them. And then I'm going to pull that first stitch over the second. If I can get it without it separating that yarn. There we go. It gets a little tricky with the thicker yarn. Next knit stitch, and now I have 2 again. So I'm going to pull the second stitch. Sometimes I just use my fingers. I'm going to pull that first stitch through without losing it. Oh, there we go. There we go. And last but not least, the final stitch. And then we're gonna, let's see if I can get my needle in there. Get my needle back, there we go. And then I'm gonna pull the first one over the second one. All right, so there I have my edge. And just as normal, we want to pull that tail out a little. So I have a tail. And now I'm gonna set my needles down, grab my threading needle. So if you have a threading needle, I like to get the ones that have a bigger opening so that it's easier for me to thread through and it doesn't split the yarn. So first I'm just gonna keep, you know, what is this, 6-7 inches, so that actually I'm gonna double that. So let's say we've got 12 inches. And then I'm gonna cut, because I'm gonna also create a bow, and I'm gonna use this end to create this centerpiece of the bow. So the tail becomes almost the attachment for the bow. So right now I have just a loop. So I'm going to tie a knot into that so that doesn't unravel. Okay. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread the 2 ends together. Okay, so there's my headband. I'm going to thread the 2 ends together. So I'm going to get the needle. If you don't know this trick already, you just take your yarn, fold it in half, and then you can easily push it through. All right, so now I'm just going to match up these ends. So I'm just going to go on this front. Actually, I'm going to go into 2 because Okay, so now I have my two ends attached, and then I'm just gonna weave the two ends together. Find that stitch. Pull it tight. Go into the next stitch. Move it through. Next stitch. Move it through. And make sure they're like end to end. They're not like overlapping each other, but they're just end to end. It just makes a nice seamless transition to your next, from one end to the other. Now, since we're going to put a bow here, you know, this piece doesn't have to necessarily be perfect because it's going to be covered by a bow anyways. But obviously you still want it to look nice, but you can get away with it not being the best. But so there we go. You can barely see that. If I were to end here, I mean, that's one option too, is if you don't want a bow, you can end here. And you have a cute, super cute headband for our little pup here. All right, so if we wanted to end right here, we could, but let's spaz it up, spaz it up, is that a word? Let's spice it up and we'll put a little bow on the top so she's extra cute. So all you have to do for that is, so we're gonna just set this aside because we're gonna come back to that. But all we're gonna do is very similar to what we've already done, is we're going to, so we'll create our slip knot. Oops, sorry, I'm out of the camera here. So we create our slip knot, and very similarly, we're going to create a bow that is just as wide as the band. Sorry, just as wide as the band. Or if you want the bow to be a little wider, depending how big and obnoxious you want the bow to be, you can make it actually a stitch or two wider. So it's up to you, the look and feel that you're going for. I do pretty much the same, maybe one or two stitches more. So let's cast on, let's see, we'll eyeball it once we get there. So we're gonna cast on, that's 3, this is 4. Okay, so this is 4. This would be the same as what we have. So we could have a bow. Let's do that. Let's do a bow that matches the width of the headband. Like I said, if you want it to be bigger or smaller, you can do that too. So now I'm just going to do the same thing, but this time I'm only going to stitch, you know, as wide as the bow. I'm sorry, as long as the bow is. So if you want your bow to be smaller or longer, that's up to you. So you can decide how long and wide you want your bow to be. So I like to do kind of this, you know, the size that I have on these other ones, where it's just a little bit big and obnoxious, but makes it super cute. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to purl stitch all the way to the end and back, and just repeat this same row, and I'm going to just keep going until it's as long as I want it to be. So I will see you back here in a few minutes. Okay, so here we are. This is how long I want my bow to be. So again, I've stretched it out a little bit just so I can kind of get a visual of what that bow is going to look like on the headband. And that's super cute, and how I want it to look. So again, you can decide how big or long you want the bow to be. And then once you get to the size that you want, you just are simply going to cast off, just like we did with the headband part. We'll bring that first stitch over the second. We're gonna create another stitch, bring that first stitch over the second, and our last stitch. It's so funny, it's so easy, right? It's so short. That's why I love this project. Oops, can't get my needle in there, so I wanna get closer to the edge. There we go. Pull that needle through. There we go. All right, so now I'm gonna pull it a little bit. And I'm going to take that off. And then I'm just going to cut my yarn after the knot. I don't really need this one to be long because I'm just going to make my knot. And then, so now I have these two tails, but I'm just going to take my needle. I should probably, my other needle, but. So if you can visualize, you know, we're just going to pinch the bow in the center for that and then attach it to our headband. But let's go ahead and weave in these tails. Oops, that's what I didn't want to happen. Let's try that again. There we go. Sometimes this thicker yarn can split. Okay, so let's just weave it in through a few stitches. Let's see, this is going to be the back, so, and that's the thing. One end will be attached anyways, so it doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly hidden because it's going to be attached to the headband and you won't see the back. But I like to still give it a couple up and down just so that it's not going anywhere. And then we can trim it. And we can do the same for this tail. So now I'm just gonna move that into my needle here. And sometimes like where you made that knot, it can like kind of bulge out and stick out a little bit. So I like to weave it in the direction of like turning it into itself, into the project. So instead of me like weaving this way, I'm gonna weave it down this way so that I'm tucking it into the project so that it doesn't stick out as much. So you can see I'm just gonna give it a little tug, and now it gives it a much more, you know, a much straighter edge. But same thing, I'm just gonna kind of weave up and down a little bit. This will be on the back end, so you're not gonna see this side anyways. But you definitely don't want that stitch to be falling out. So now I'm gonna just trim that. All right, so here we have, it's just like a simple rectangle, and then we have our headband. And so what we're gonna do is basically, we're just going to find a good pinch point, which is just right in the middle, like that. And wherever that pinch point is, we're basically going to wrap this yarn around the center to create the center of the bow. Now, honestly, if you didn't want to have, like, so these ones, I created this center and it's a different color, so it really is nice and stands out. Since I'm just doing the same color on itself, you don't even need to necessarily, I mean, you can't, so let me just show you. It's gonna give you a little bit of a different look and feel. So you can either, you basically find the center of your bow, and then you're gonna take that extra tail and you're just gonna wrap it around. Make sure you move your fingers out of the way so it's truly in the center of that bow. And then that's gonna give you kind of an idea of what it'll look like. If you like it like that, you can attach it that way. Or if you prefer to not have that center piece, you can actually just stitch it together, pinched with these two center parts pinched, and then you're gonna thread through the middle. What I have found when doing it that way, it leaves a little bit, it makes it just you gotta really attach it well, because otherwise it makes the bow just a little wobbly. But it still looks super cute and super cool, but you just gotta make sure you attach it really well. So let's try that. Let's do that. Since we're doing different yarn, different things today, let's do that. Let's give it a little bit of a different look and feel. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my tail here onto the needle. Oops, this yarn likes to fray. Get that in there. Come on, come on. There we go. I guess I just need to be more patient. All right, and so since this tail is on the end, I'm actually going to thread it up through the center so that it ends up in the center of, so now I can use it to sew on this bow. So with it this way, like, it would be so easy if I could just put it this way, right? But we're actually going to sew it on like this. So first I'm going to, with it attached to the headband, I'm going to just pinch that together where I want it. Make sure you tug it tight so that it keeps that, it keeps the pinch. And so now I'm actually going to go through the bottom again and back up on this other side. So now I'm coming up on the other end, and I just want to go through that pinch once again so it keeps it nice and tight and we don't lose that look that we're going for. See already, if it's like too loose, it loses the look of the bow. So after you go through it just a couple of times, you can really create a super cute pinch and bow. So I'm just trying to get in there so that I can, there, see how cute that is? Super cute. All right, and then once I feel it's got a good pinch and it looks the way that I want, I'm just gonna make sure I secure it. So I might go through the back. Sometimes this thicker yarn, it's harder to find its way through it. Make sure it's on nice and tight. And I'll go through it one more time. This way. And then I'll secure it through the back. So if you have the right pinch that you want in the center, you just weave it through a couple of times to make sure that that's nice and secure, and it's also nice and secure to the headband, so it's not, you know, wobbling around. Actually, see how this side is kind of sticking up? I don't like that. So I'm going to just weave a little bit through here and secure it onto the headband, just so it doesn't stick up as much, and it's secured. That end of the bow is secure. All right, and it's actually perfect because it ended up right next to this tail, and so now I can just knot them and squeeze it tight and maybe make a double knot. I'm going to take this needle off, make a double knot, And then I can trim the edges or the tails. And there you go. Oh my gosh, how cute is this? Puppy, come here. I got a headband for you. So let's see. This is super cute. I guess this is toward the front, right? Or no, I guess it doesn't go under her chin, does it? She's like, come on now, make me cute. Ugh, adorable. How cute is she? Oh, I love it so much. She's so cute. All right, now she's got all her friends. And they all have their stylish little bows. All right, so super simple, super quick, super fun project. Your kids are gonna love it.